Okay, so we are live and welcome to my platform, Alavi Motion Pictures. Uh,
Thank
so
you.
it's an honor to have you here. So I would like to ask from the beginning, how was your
Yeah.
journey? I mean, starting from, how did you start the journey, the writing journey?
Writing is something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted it to be a part of my life, and I wasn't sure how that would work out. As far as I'm definitely the cliched kid as far as making movies with my friends and putting my brother in it and my family members and all of that sort of stuff, and writing and directing it and being in it if I had to be and all that sort of stuff. And so it just sort of never changed on some level. It only focused until writing was the thing. Sort of after college, maybe even 5 years after college, it was the door that opened first in Hollywood, and I ran through it as fast as I could, and maybe I'll branch out again very slowly, and maybe not, but either way, it's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So, how often do you feel do you face the writer's block?
Writer's block is I heard this trick from the Cohen brothers. I didn't talk to them. I heard it on a podcast, but
Okay.
I heard that they always have 3 or 4 projects going that are entirely different in tone, so
Yeah.
that the subconscious brain can be working on one of the other ones if you're focused on what's in front of you. If you have one that's more comedic, but you're not feeling funny that day,
Yeah.
you're not lost. You know which file to open. So that has been a real saving grace as far as avoiding a writer's block. There's
Yeah.
always something that your brain can inch forward on, and also just having grace with yourself as far as if your brain is busy with real life things and you're having
Yeah.
trouble putting pen to paper, give yourself a break. Like you'll make it up in 3 days when you have a wildly productive day. It all evens out.
Yeah. I mean, I think writing Wanda-Vision, how Wanda-Vision actually came to you.
One came to me. I wrote on a show called Carnival Row, which was
Yeah.
sort of a two-hander show, and one of them was like a very strong female lead, and there were magical elements in it,
Yeah.
and then I had a pilot script with a strong female lead and supernatural elements, and I have never actually asked, but I think that's what got me in the room for the job interview.
Okay. So how was your reaction? I mean, when you got the call from Marvel Studios, so how was your reaction?
I was thrilled. I was, full disclosure, I did not grow up reading comics.
Yeah.
It's something that I discovered pretty late in life. I mean, in college, one of my roommates handed me comic books. Like that's how late we're talking. And it wasn't Marvel or DC. It was sort of weird alt titles like The Goon.
Yeah.
So I can remember, because there were so few, I had 3 comic books growing up. One of them was Captain America turns into a werewolf. One of them was
Okay.
like the rebirth of Superman. And one of
Okay.
them was Spider-Man and Hulk in the same comic hanging out. And I loved them. I just didn't collect them for whatever reason.
So
So I was thrilled, but as a movie fan, I'm such a fan of the movies, and that was really my gateway into Marvel. I mean, like a lot of the world, I suppose. But I feel a lot of nerd shame confessing that.
yeah, I mean, who was actually your favorite character from Marvel?
My favorite character from Marvel, before WandaVision, because that answer really has changed. My favorite character was Hulk. Um,
Okay.
I was such a fan of the outsider and emotions he doesn't know how to channel, and he's always trying, and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. All of the classic sort of werewolf archetype stuff that Hulk is borrowing from. I'm such a fan of in any incarnation, and Hulk is a great
Yeah.
incarnation of that.
Yeah. I mean, so how tough it is to write, I mean, already familiar characters like Wanda-Vision. I mean, they're already
Mhm.
familiar to the audiences. So how tough it is to writing those familiar characters?
I really enjoy sort of adopting the voice already established voices. I find that I personally don't find that too difficult. The hardest part for me was sort of, in the best way, we were asked to dive back into the character histories on the comics. So that's
Yeah.
what 70 years of comic pages and storylines to try to like shove into your brain as fast as you can, but because the train's already leaving the station.
Yeah.
So that to me, sort of the crash course of Marvel pages was a joy, but there wasn't a lot of time for it. And that I found to be the toughest thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, writing one. If you see the writing Wanda-Vision, and like, what is your writing process? I mean, while writing Wanda-Vision or anything, what is your writing process?
I think, it's very different depending. I think when you're hired on a job like Wanda-Vision, you're in a room with a lot of other writers,
Yeah.
and you really are. It's the most collaborative thing that I've ever done, and I love that. You really are building something together, and if you can do that without ego, I think that's a beautiful thing. There's no other word for it. When I'm writing features or television or something by myself, it's obviously a very insular process. It's very personal. There are a lot of hours just sitting at the desk and inching forward on something. I enjoy sort of acting things out in my head, and sort of being my own detector of whether or not there's authenticity there, or whether that's like the worst idea or the worst dialogue or whatever. But I get a kick out of sort of workshopping that stuff by myself. When I start a project, it tends to come either as an image or as a single character type that I want to explore. I do hear a lot of writers that sort of they're chasing the world and building the world, and then they put characters into it. And I do, right or wrong, I do start from the inside and work out, and keep it sort of ethereal and personal for as long as I can. At some point it will turn into a lot of work, but I try to sort of keep it fun and no pressure for as long as I can. Just because it helps the creative flow,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how often do you feel like while writing something that if you feel like it's something cliche, but you have to do it because somewhere between the lines, you think that it's actually, it's actually going, I mean, flowing to the flowing with the script, but somehow you're feeling that it's kind of cliche. So how do you avoid the cliches?
I think there's no shame in cliches if you're doing a first draft. If you're just trying to get it out on the paper, I think there's no shame in sort of borrowing and stealing from archetypes that work. It's like, well, this formula works, and I know it's bad, and it's bad, and I'm going to make it better. But just to have something to look at, I'm so afraid of the empty page that I'll put anything onto the page just to have clay to start working with. And then I really do believe that one of my professors wrote a book called Writing is Rewriting. His name's Jack Epps. And I think it's a practice. I think it's I think you're just building and building and building until someone takes it away from you.
Yeah, I mean, what is the thing that you really afraid about? The first blank page or the last page of the script? I mean, the conclusion.
I think the blank page is definitely scarier to me than getting to the end of something. I think there's this is cliche, but like such a celebration in finishing the first draft of something. I was like, wow, it has a beginning, it has a middle and an end. I think that's when the work starts. I'm a big believer in that. And that can be daunting. I think that I'm afraid. When am I afraid when I write? I get afraid when I'm matched with people who are not collaborative. That really scares me, because all of a sudden the project isn't the thing that's in everybody's best, that everybody's thinking about. They're working from a place of ego, and you can watch things change and get away from you, and it's not productive, and you feel the project getting worse. And that scares me. Navigating that sort of stuff scares me.
So I mean, what is actually easier for you to write a script in your own, or writing collaboratively with a co-writer? So what is easier?
Again, it depends. I love writing more comedic things with somebody else, and just feeling the ping pong and feeling my background is in improv comedy, as weird as that is. And I miss that. I miss the back and forth. When I write a lot of horror and a lot of dark fantasy stuff, and I like writing that by myself. I like sort of the quiet of writing that mood and that tone and working things out by myself. I find it solitary but not lonely.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, when you got to know that you are going to write Marvel's WandaVision, so what are the information you have gathered before writing WandaVision? What are the information?
Well, as I said, we bulked up on a lot of comics, and which was really fun, but definitely a fast pace. And the other information is just what you're getting from the showrunner. We had a phenomenal showrunner, Jack Schaefer, who hired incredible people. Like, she hired an amazing baseball team of people that she could look to for different strengths. And so it was sort of about, making sure that we were all rowing in the direction that she wanted to row in, and that Kevin Feige wanted to row in, and that, when you're putting together the puzzle, you want the picture that's on the box, so just keeping track of like what the picture is on the puzzle box is the information we were given. Yeah.
Okay. So how much involvement, I mean, do you have? I mean, if you said Kevin Feige, how much involvement he has on the while writing WandaVision. I mean, how much involvement he had.
On WandaVision, he was very hands-on. He is a great collaborator. He's somebody that never has ego. It's always about the thing that you're making and what's best for that thing. And Marvel is structured so that, he's obviously a very busy guy, but when you get him, you truly have his attention, and luckily a lot of the work, as far as what everybody wanted to make with WandaVision, a lot of the big decisions had been made before the writers' room was assembled. So then it was just sort of checking with Kevin and having meetings with him, and that sort of thing, that the showrunner had with the producer, just sort of making sure that the train was still on the tracks,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, apart from your own work, I mean, WandaVision, what, which Marvel project is your favorite? I mean, which one? If I say only the Marvel, like Disney Plus Marvel,
sure.
Web series.
I love Doctor Strange. I'm a big horror movie fan, and so that was my first sense that Marvel was going to get a little darker and a little more weird and a little more like psychedelic. And I was really into that when I was sitting in the theater. I was like, "Oh, this movie's crazy! Marvel has license to kill now. I'm so happy."
Okay, so I actually enjoyed Loki a lot.
I like Loki.
Loki. I'm really excited to. I mean, season 2 is coming already. They have announced that season 2 of WandaVision, and maybe I don't know about WandaVision. Is it coming? Season 2?
WandaVision was always constructed to be sort of a limited series. So a complete story that sat on a shelf by itself. And they just announced the other day that there's a spin-off of Agatha, and so I imagine that'll be another contained story, but certainly from shared universe, as Marvel does. But I can definitively say there'll be no like WandaVision season 2, as far as I know. That was statement.
Apart from WandaVision, which are the works that that is coming of your own work? I mean, apart from Wanda-Vision, which are the Marvel projects of yours? I mean, are coming.
I can't speak on them too much. I'm excited about them, and I'm certainly busy with them. In the non-Marvel camp, I'm writing sort of a straight-up horror movie that's certainly scaring me a lot as I write it, which is a lot of fun.
Okay.
Working through a lot of the loss of my grandparents and sort of putting that through a horror lens. So I'm really enjoying that process.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the latest anyway.
Okay. No, actually, somewhere I think I read some articles about that. Some of the other Disney Plus projects of yours are coming. So
yeah,
is it true?
There's
Yeah.
stuff that's happening, that's being worked on, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to ask that. I mean, what are the tips you are going to give to the younger, I mean, aspiring screenwriters?
I would say, if you enjoy collaboration, look to do that in your work.
Yeah.
I would also say, writing is very hard because everything is very personal to you. But the more you can let go and invite other people into the process and check your ego at the door, the better the work is going to be, the more fun you're going to have, the more familial people who work with you. It's just going to all be better. I really encourage that. And certainly the film industry and Hollywood, etc. It's a hard tone to strike for a lot of people. So yeah, that's something I'm always chasing.
Okay. So, I mean, like you're working on your own projects and as well as the Disney Plus, I mean, Marvel projects too. So, but I mean, I think recently I've, so how actually, first of all, I would like to ask how excited you are, how much excited you are about No Way Home.
I haven't seen the trailer yet. It's not out, but I'm liking everything that I'm seeing. I mean, I grew up on those films and just seeing the little teases of Doc Ock popping up, and yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm into that.
Okay, so I mean, like, I mean, you were. It's been a long journey. So from Carnival Row to is Carnival Row is your first project, or before that anything else came out?
It was my first television show. I made a living for many years as a writer's assistant on different TV shows and for different producers. But yeah, that was my first television credit, and then I had some independent films on the other side of things. But
Okay, so I mean, like, are you familiar about some words like coverfly, blacklist?
Say that again.
Coverfly, backlist.
No. Oh yeah, Blacklist for sure.
Yeah.
I know Blacklist. Yeah.
So I mean, there are also some aspiring writers are there working very hard, and so I mean, like, what would be your advice to them? Like, I mean, how could they go through? I mean, how could they conquer? I mean, how could they get a path on? I mean, if they go into a writing career. I mean, is those platforms are okay, or I think something else or is okay? I mean,
I think, let me see. As far as script competitions, I think a handful of those are very helpful. Nichols springs to mind. Yeah, Blacklist is incredible. I think it's about sort of honing your own work. And taking as many notes from as many people who you trust to give you notes. I think there's a big difference there, and just sort of, if you hear a note twice from two different people who don't know each other, it's probably a real note. It's probably something you should look at, even if their solves aren't the solve. There's probably something to be done between the lines there. And I think, so many people, so many writers, especially, they get hung up on that one thing or that one project, and they want things to be perfect. And I think there's a fine line between honing something and then stopping yourself at a certain point, where when either you think it's done or people are saying, you're working on this for 3 years, maybe you should take a break and sort of hit reset in your brain. You're obviously like banging your head against the wall. I think that Yeah, I think it's about sort of treating it as a discipline and as a practice, and not living and dying by every script, and treating it
Yeah,
as an ongoing craft that you are going to
yeah,
get
yeah.
better at.
Do you have any favorite genre? I mean, like writing about anything. I mean, do you have any favorite genre that
Oh
you would
yeah,
like to?
I'm such a horror guy and dark
Horror.
fantasy guy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which are the horror films that you really like?
I'm trying to think of. I mean, the obvious answers are The Shining and Pan's
Yeah,
Labyrinth and The Thing. I'm a big Stephen King fan. Big John Carpenter fan. Hitchcock. I'm trying to think of more obscure answers. I loved Babadook. I loved It Follows. Um, I love A Ghost Story. I thought was one of the most beautiful horror films I'd
yeah,
ever seen. Like barely a horror film,
really, yeah,
the
yeah,
title, but a beautiful film. Yeah.
yeah. If you ask me, I'm a huge, I mean, Spielberg guy. I
Oh yeah,
love.
I love Spielberg. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, which are the actually? I mean, whenever you write something, do you? I mean, I mean, do you actually look into the old classics? I mean, if you're writing the script, something related to horror, do you revisit some old? I mean, cult classics. I mean, do you revisit? How often do you revisit?
Writers are very divided on this. Some
Yeah,
writers I know just like don't touch, they trust that it's in their brain and they've seen what
yeah,
they've
yeah,
seen. I think if you can deep dive into film without letting it affect your work or change your work, or
yeah,
suddenly you're writing some hybrid of something you watched last night, like that's not good.
yeah.
uh it gets me excited. I am a big proponent of people trying
Okay.
to seek out, you know films that didn't work in the same genre, and why didn't they
Yeah,
work, and but also revisiting old classics,
yeah,
and just sort of getting excited. It's a way for me to get excited about my writing, is by sort of subjecting yourself to the cinematic experience and going on someone else's ride. Like,
yeah, yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
so much fun.
So, I mean, like, just like you said, I mean, what is your actually writing routine? Do you follow any routine that from starting of the day to ending
Yeah,
of the
for
day? I
sure.
mean,
I tried to be at my desk by 9 or 10,
okay.
and take a break for lunch. I try to do new writing in the morning and editing in the afternoon, which is
Yeah,
something I stole from Stephen King's book on writing.
yeah,
um, and um, and uh, and just make it. I think the key for me is accountability.
yeah,
And so, I'm in a writers group where we all share material.
yeah,
I make sure to tell at least very few people that I'm working on something,
yeah,
just
yeah,
just because in 2 months they might ask me about it, and that means I better have made progress on it. I think sort of playing tricks with your brain to keep yourself. It's very easy to get sucked into either other jobs that demand a lot of time, and all of a sudden you're not doing anything of your own work. Um, I think it's my wife calls them beautiful distractions. Like,
yeah.
I gotta say I'm working from home, but all that laundry, someone's got to do it. And it's like a tangible thing that you can finish by the end of the day and feel really good. And it's you gotta get better at just closing the door and letting the work time be
So,
the work time.
yeah, just like, I mean, do you have any like limitation that I have to write one page, at least one page a day, or 2 pages a day? Do you have any limitation?
No, I really don't. I tried that for a little bit. I found that was too much pressure, and that what I was generating wasn't good. But that's just
Yeah,
me. I'm not saying that's good or bad for other people. Also, projects are at such different stages. It's like you're writing pages for something, but you're writing outlines for something else, and you're thinking of ideas for a third thing, and everything's at different points in the creative process.
yeah,
And so for me, I found that too. Stephen King's he has a word count that he hits every day.
yeah.
Um, I think Ryan Johnson does too, maybe. Anyway, yeah, a lot of people. There's so many ways to slice
Yeah.
it.
Like, I mean, like, as I said, except you said you love horror. I
Mhm.
mean, except horror, which are the genres you would like to explore in future?
I think that fantasy is underexplored. I think that I mean, Lord of the Rings and different worlds are very much explored.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would love to see more urban fantasy. I would love to see more
yeah,
magical realism.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of sort of, you know, subgenres that I think
yeah,
haven't quite gotten their day in court yet.
yeah. Okay. So, what are the changes you want to see in super recent superhero films, super genre?
Mhm.
What are the genre? I mean, what are the things you want?
Um,
Yeah,
no, that's a really interesting question. I think that I'll be honest. I think that Marvel has already done a great job
yeah, yeah. Obviously, I
of
mean, there's no
smuggling
doubt.
genres inside of their super. You know, Black Widow
Yeah,
is a spy movie. You know, Thor
yeah, yeah.
Ragnarok is an action comedy.
Action film. Yeah,
Um, I think that the like Marvel's, you know, Feige and company were just smart enough to realize, like, oh, this genre can handle any other genre.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm very excited to see them flex their horror muscles or their comedy muscles some more with as it looks like you know, a lot of the Disney Plus announcements are going to do.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see where it goes.
Okay. So, I mean, you're working on Marvel projects. So, do you have any feeling that you want to work with on a DC project, or you just stick
Um,
to?
no, for me, it's about character. Honestly,
Okay.
it's about you know, what's the internal life of something,
Yeah.
regardless of how they look or what camp they are in. I know, you know, James Gunn has hopped the fence a couple of times, and
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think Randall Park is double. There are a lot
Yeah.
of like double cast all of a sudden,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I'm not against it, but I will say that, you know, the Marvel experience has been a tremendous
Yeah. Yeah.
one, and so for, you know, if they're looking for me to work for them, I'm always going to say yes because I've
Yeah.
had a wonderful time there. You know.
Yeah. Okay. So, my last question. I mean, we're
Yeah.
already. I mean, it's 30 minutes. I mean, so my last question would be like, if you have worked on some Marvel projects and other things. So, do you want to explore a movie in India or in Bollywood?
Sure, I'm very open. Like to me, it's about the story. You know,
Yeah.
I co-wrote a couple of Chinese features for the international
Okay.
market, and that was an incredible experience. I learned a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
about, you know, a culture I didn't know much about,
Yeah.
and like an audience mentality I didn't know much about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very into the idea of sort of
No, I mean,
opening my
actually.
own worldview. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, if you ask me as an Indian audience, I mean, we Indian audience actually really love Marvel movies. I mean, if you see the box office collection in India
Mhm.
itself, I mean, that's huge, huge
It's
box office
huge.
collection.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
market is huge there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So they really like those, I mean, franchise films like big budget blockbusters. So they really like it. So yeah, I mean, maybe in future we'll work on a project, we'll work on a, because I'm an independent filmmaker too, so maybe
Awesome.
yeah,
That's
we'll
very
work
cool.
together. Yeah. Did you watch any Bollywood movie?
You know, I've seen a handful in college. I was a member of like a film society, and we
Okay.
would hang out. And yeah, I haven't seen as many as I want to or need to probably, but
Yeah.
I've seen a handful anyway. And yeah,
Okay.
I love the emotionality of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
find it like
yeah.
so beautiful and
I
so
mean,
like heartfelt.
most of the Indian films are actually kind of musical films. I
Hmm.
mean, if you see, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, and beautifully done. You know.
yeah,
It
I mean,
reminds me of like American film in the 30s had that sort of same openness
yeah,
to it,
yeah, yeah,
and then for whatever
exactly.
reason we moved away from it.
Actually,
But yeah, that's the most
I
my
mean, in
limited
recent, I guess.
film knowledge. That's what
Uh,
it reminds me of. Yeah.
Yeah, in Eternals, they have already an Indian superhero. They have explored.
Yeah, great. I
Yeah,
saw that, and I haven't yet to see it. I'm excited to see
yeah,
that film. I
I know
haven't
it.
seen it
So
yet.
I'm not gonna spoil it
Yeah,
to
please
you.
don't.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
When
so
my
just
wife and
watch
I
it.
can find a babysitter for the toddler, we're doing it.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
exactly. So we're not gonna be Mark Ruffalo. So
Yeah.
so okay. So thanks a lot
Yeah, of
for coming
course.
here.
No, this was a
I mean,
pleasure. It's
really,
been really nice to
I'm
chat with
really
you.
grateful that you came here and
Oh, of
talked to me
course.
and really, yeah. So
Well, this has been a lot
maybe
of
I
fun.
think
Thanks for having me.
exactly. I mean, I really liked the session. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me
I
too.
really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah. So I mean, I said, okay, there are fans sending love on the behalf of Indian Marvel fans.
Oh, very
Uh,
cool.
yeah. Okay.
Very, very cool.
There is Shayan Bishwash is there. So he's sending love to you
Very
on the
cool.
behalf of Indian Marvel fans.
Oh, thank you. That's
Okay.
very neat. Very
Yeah.
neat.
Okay. I would like to ask you something that I mean, one of my team member
Mhm.
is going to ask you one question. So could I? I mean, join? Could I ask him to
Bring
join? I
somebody
mean,
in? Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll
Just a couple
just
minutes. You bet.
yeah. So I will just put him. I will. Okay. I don't know if he's Shayan Bishwash. If you are watching it, so please join join the session. I'm talking to him on the comments. So okay, if he's watching, he will join.
Or type out your question or whatever whatever you want to
Yeah,
do.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. Okay. So he just joining actually. Okay, so I would like to ask something else. I mean,
Sure.
I think from the Marvel, I mean, outside Marvel, I'm
Mhm.
asking something that if you, yeah, I mean, you have made so many, like television and you would like to explore any movie. I mean, theatrical. If I ask, like theatrical movie. I mean, did
Yeah,
you?
I'm very interested in writing film. Yeah, I came out to Los Angeles wanting to do movies,
Okay,
and then television was where I was getting work as an assistant, and so
okay,
I was like, okay, I'll do that. Sounds great.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
write dog food commercials if that's what door opened
yeah.
first. It's like just trying to
Okay,
make it
so
work.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, so that fan, Marvel fan, is here, and he's one of my teammates, and
Oh,
he's
cool.
going to ask you something. So please, Shainda, please.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good.
So, so there is a huge Marvel fan base in India,
Mhm.
and we're just talking every day basis about Marvel, about what to come next, about what we're expecting after the timeline breaches, and many more things like
Mhm.
Marvel are bringing to us. Like we're just uh, expecting new fan theories and
Yeah, I know. Fan theories are everywhere.
everything. There are everywhere thinkers thinking about the new theories that can be introduced after the timeline breach and what Marvel can bring to us fans. So I have a question that I'm also an aspiring writer. I'm
Mhm.
a fan of yours.
Cool.
So mm, if I want to improve my work as a writer, so the one tip you can give to me
I
as a
think
writer?
that I for part-time work when I first moved to Hollywood, I read scripts for different agencies and production companies, and that was just to make ends meet. But the practice of it, I think, is incredible. I think just reading screenplays and sort of dissecting them and thinking about, writers have little tricks and little hacks, and if you read 3 scripts by the same person, you start to pick up on them. And it doesn't have to necessarily be Aaron Sorkin or some of the
Yeah,
best writers in the world,
yeah,
Yeah.
but other just working writers, and
Mm,
see just sort of what level is required to be somebody who's considered as somebody that's competent and capable of writing films. I think just the practice of reading and sort of the osmosis of that and internalizing stuff without realizing it, I think is really helpful, and a great boot camp. It's just a great practice to get into.
yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so
thank you
much
so
Yeah,
much.
for
nice to meet
coming
you.
here.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So okay, maybe I mean in future maybe we'll we'll go for another interview if you
Sure,
have
that'd be
like
fun. Absolutely.
that will be fun. I
I'm
mean
in.
that's really gonna be fun.
Well,
Okay,
cool. Nice to
okay.
meet you
So
guys.
thank you so much,
Thank you.
and yeah, namaste from India. So
Yeah,
Thank you very
namaste.
much. Have a great night.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bye.
great
Okay.
night.
Tada.
Good night.
Goodbye. Good night from me. Okay.